Welcome back to the fourth session of our VTuber game development open Q&A session. Today we have some important updates to our VTuber studio, but we'll be also talking a little more about the plan for this kind of like game dev session. But just before we start, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our Offworld Live shared repository project. And so the Offworld Live shared repo is an Apache licensed open source Unreal project file repository. What an Apache license means is that it allows users to use the software for any purpose and to distribute it, to modify it, to distribute modified versions of the software under the terms of the license without concerns for royalties. So we have no liability over it, and you're free to distribute and share commercially as well. So the shared project will be also community-led and orientated, encouraging collaboration and contribution. And what's really interesting about the repo is that assets used within this project will be shared via Pastebin, Download Center, and Knowledge Center for you to clone the project and reuse some of these assets in the future. And so the VTuber Studio features the vast capabilities of the Offworld live streaming toolkit for VTubers and live streamers. But I think the VTuber Studio is also really interesting because it helps us showcase the different streaming toolkit uses for VTubing and live streaming. So you can stream directly to Twitch, YouTube, but also input and stream media feeds into Unreal directly. And what we kind of like tried to angle this kind of game is that we're trying to create an editor game, which means you are able to exploit streaming capabilities in editor as well as in game. And so this is really an open source project template that allows you to quickly customize and package your own VTuber studio after you've cloned our project. And so so a bit of kind of like overview of our Wednesday Discord open Q&As as well. I see like some new faces here, but basically on Discord every Wednesday at 3 p.m. kind of British summertime, we'll be talking through inputs and outputs directly from Unreal. We'll be also talking through kind of games packaging and UI development within Unreal Editor. We'll be also talking a little more in the next few weeks about character rigging, including character animation, retargeting, using different kind of standardized characters such as VRM and Metahumans. We'll be also talking through face and body capture technology options. So we have live link, but we also are exploring different kind of capture options, and we'll be sharing that with the community. And alongside that, we'll be also looking through kind of creating different assets for the avatars. So outfits, sunglasses, different shaders, materials for outfits, and customizing your avatar so that you can bring in your avatar into the project file and then just replace that. And live link and everything should work really well immediately. Alternatively, we also have environment building as part of our Discord open Q&A topic, where we'll be talking about kind of using the persistent level structures to replace environments, and so that you can also drag in different new assets and environments from your different projects into this project file and then add them as a persistent level so that you can swap out environments seamlessly. So if you're interested in that, feel free to kind of like tune in to next Wednesday. And just an update on where we are now. We've talked about different off-world captures and media output systems last week, and we'll be continuing to do that today. What's more about that is that we've also integrated inputs and so that we can stream different media feeds from using Spout and NDI directly into Unreal to have that kind of like live streaming capability in and out of Unreal. We'll be also looking into live link and customization options in the future. And what's really exciting is that we've got an alpha release hopefully next week, where our template project file will be kind of repackaged and organized so that it will be available in Download Center for you to use. And so if you're interested in creating your own VTuber studio, what you have to do is download the same version of Unreal and then download this project file from our Download Center. You'll be able to use these kind of live streaming capabilities directly. And so let's jump into this week and talk about our latest update. And also I'll be walking through how in Blueprints we've created options for streaming out of a package game via RTMP and media recording. And then, as mentioned, we'll be also talking about inputs, so streaming into a package game via Spout and NDI into Unreal. And then we'll be playtesting the VTuber Studio app together before the alpha release next week so that we can get some feedback from all of you. So let's start. So for today's sessions, we're going to be gathering some ingredients for our widget blueprint. And what's really important is that, to continue on from last week, we're talking about off-world live outputs. So streaming via real-time kind of streaming protocols, as well as media recording. We'll be also looking at off-world live input, so Spout receiver and NDI receiver. And for that, we'll need each a render target for each input so that we can replace the materials for preview very quickly. And so let's revisit media output and what our off-world live media output supports. So we have RTMP streaming and media recording. RTMP streaming is real-time messaging protocol, and it is a type of video encoding that makes video streaming possible. And for this to happen, you'll basically need to select a streaming server and a stream key. And the off-world live toolkit really kind of removes the kind of like very boring parts of linking things together, and makes and this VTuber Studio allows you to stream through just selecting options from a drop-down, and you'll be able to stream directly from Unreal in Editor at runtime and in Package Game. And so we'll be walking through in Blueprints how we've been able to kind of stream directly from a package game. And secondly, we also have the media output. So directly from this package game, you can also choose to save to file. What this means is that you can record live to a file, to a local folder, allowing you to record all the kind of render targets immediately with our built-in media output actor. And so let's jump into the blueprints to look at how we've connected RTMP streaming as well as media output to our widget blueprint. So just gonna link this up. So this is our current space. If you haven't seen this already, this is the kind of VTuber environment we've been developing over the past few weeks. It's a very, very simple setup with some environments, with an environment as well as the core capabilities, including the avatar here, the 360 camera, and there's a CineCam camera and viewport capture. We've also got this TV here that is previewing render targets. We've also got this screen in the back that's showing us what we can stream into Unreal. So it's a very condensed version of a lot of capabilities from the Off-World live streaming toolkit, and then just adding the environment to that you can easily swap out and change. And so let us first play the game so that you can have a quick look of what the UI looks like. So when you first start the game, you are kind of like guided through 5 different options, and as mentioned today, we'll be looking into media outputs and inputs. So once you click the media capture and output button, you'll see that there's an infinite mirroring here. And this is because we have kind of used the viewport capture option, and as mentioned in the past few weeks, this is our render target preview that you can see what's happening inside the viewport, and it's capturing that. And so today we're looking at specifically RTMP streaming and save to file option. So apart from being able to choose through different resolutions that are all 16:9 aspect ratios, we have got the streaming option and media recording. When you toggle and select the streaming option, you'll be guided through kind of like different popular streaming platforms such as Twitch, Bilibili, YouTube, and Restream, which is what I'm using now for Discord. And each streaming platform will allow you to stream through a stream key. And so if I if I quickly just go on my Twitch now, I can show you how quickly you can set up a stream. So I'm not streaming at anything at the moment as I'm streaming to YouTube, but if you want to create and start a new stream, what you have to do is go to your settings, and then under stream, you'll see primary stream key. And once you copy that, you can paste it into this, you can paste it into here. And then once you hit output, it will directly link to Twitch. And alternatively, you can also go to media recording, and in recording name, you can just name the file however you want, but you can also paste in the kind of file path. So what I would do is potentially going into the downloads folder, and then maybe go to your C path, users, and then once you navigate to the folder, you can then copy this path and save to here. And then when you hit output, it will save directly. It will save directly to file. So this is going to be really useful if you want to record directly in game. And so this UI here is designed for you to kind of like loop through all these options and see what you like. Without further ado, let's go into the widget blueprint to look at how we have created these options. So we have kind of started the project a few weeks ago, and over the past few weeks, we've already kind of bulked up the blueprints quite a bit. So looking at the UI, this is what we've been building, and each kind of button or drop-down box has kind of it is a variable that we can control inside the blueprints. So let's now look at the media output options, which is over here. And so, as you can see, we have created an output type combo box. So this is a combo box, which is a drop-down menu, allowing us to set the index for each output option. So we've got virtual webcam, spout sender, and NDI sender that we've covered last week. And today we'll be looking into index 3 and 4, which is streaming and media recording. And with the output type, we're able to select either option and then to start kind of programming in blueprints. So in next week's kind of project file, you'll see a much more organized version of this, but currently I'll just walk through how we've configured the current setup. And first, we're looking at this kind of output section, which is very, very bulky at the moment. We've already covered virtual webcam, spout, and NDI from last week. But we've created an event system that when you press the output button here, at the bottom of the widget, we'll be switching through the options 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which are virtual webcam, spout output, NDI output, so on and so forth. And so looking at streaming RTMP, when the drop-down menu selects streaming RTMP, which matches the index, and the output button is pressed, then it will check whether the streaming has already been started. If it has already started, selecting the output button will stop the streaming process. If it hasn't started just yet, which is false over here, it will start all the actions. So first we're setting the streaming output, which is our media output, in the editor. So in the editor we have we have dropped down an off-world media output actor, and this actor allows us to choose through different options to save to file and stream to RTMP, which are the two options we're using here. And so using an object reference with variables, we're able to reference this media output object and set the settings within to set kind of like different settings within this actor. So what we're doing here is when we press the output button, it will set the output type to stream to RTMP as opposed to save to file and other options. And then from there, we will be switching the different kind of, depending on which camera capture system we're using, we'll be setting the different render targets to be streamed. And then just a bit of delay so that there's time to create new settings and apply to that. What we've done here is to make new settings. So using the stream URL and key string, which are in the UI over here. Stream key. Using the stream key as well as the kind of like streaming platform URL, which is over here. So in the dropdown, we've also kind of pre-configured different options and streaming platforms that you can choose. On selection change of this dropdown, where between choosing Twitch, YouTube, Restream, and other options, you can then the drop-down menu will then select for one of these URLs, and so we've got Twitch, YouTube, Restream, and the second one is Bilibili. And so once the render targets are, once the camera capture system is chosen, we'll be using a specific render target. We'll be making new RTMP settings so that we can set the platform using the stream URL, as well as matching it with a stream key, and then setting that to the RTMP setting to start streaming. So a very simple kind of workflow is that the output button will start streaming, and depending on which media capture, it will assign a different render target to be streamed. And then depending on the drop down over here, we'll be choosing a specific URL to stream to, and then matching that with the stream key that the user will input in the stream key editable text space. With that, we will then set everything into RTMP settings and start using the output button. And very, very similarly, media recording is also designed the same way, where we will be using the same logic. So if output hasn't started, start it, and then choosing the media output option, output type to save to file. This is basically recording to media recording from game and saving that as a file. And I think I've chosen MP4 as the kind of like pre-configured format. And then choosing the appropriate render target depending on the capture system we are using. and then making a new set of settings. So what's different here is that instead of setting RTMP settings where you have to set the stream URL and stream key, we will be setting, I have selected here, choosing to save as an MP4. Alongside that, we'll need different information such as file path, file name, and file path and file name. So where the file is saved to and what is the file's name. And then we will start the media output. So that's a bit of kind of like behind the scenes of this blueprint. And we'll be diving into our next section, which is off-world input systems. So first, we like outputs, we have talked about Spout and NDI already. So Spout and NDI can be ways where you can stream and send media out of Unreal, but you can also use our off-world Spout Receiver Manager and NDI Receiver Manager to receive media feeds into Unreal. And let's look at now the blueprints for that. So on inputs, we'll be playing the game again so that can refresh our memory on how we get. So when you hit play on the game, you'll be also able to see media feeds input, where you can choose between Spout Receiver and NDI Receiver. And once there is a kind of like new Spout sender on OBS that we can do right now. So if you can see here on OBS, I can create for example, a new media source, and selecting the right files, we can send that directly into the editor. So for example, this is the promo and teaser for this week. And we can also then in sources click filters, add Spout filter, so that this will be our Spout sender, and we can rename it however we want. For now, I'll just keep it as Spout OBS filter. So this is now sending through Spout out. And in Unreal, we can receive it by clicking the refresh button. And now we will see Spout OBS filter. And now you can't see any action yet because I haven't hit input. But once I hit input, we'll be able to see it displaying in the background. Similarly with NDI, I have to set up NDI to do kind of like screen capture. So now it should be starting, hopefully. Might take a bit. Okay, so now it is capturing my screen, and it should work soon. It might take a while, but okay, so the NDI, yeah, so this is the NDI kind of like QR code showing us that we're using we're receiving NDI feeds. So now let's look at the widget blueprint to see how this has been programmed. So if we scroll down to the bottom over here, under inputs, when we press the input button, it will use a sequence node to loop through all the options and activate selected option and inactivate other options. So what this means is we now have three options. We now have three options in the media input. So the first option here is using the default logo where I've set a material to the TV screen. The other two options is Spout and NDI. So using this sequence, we'll be looping through the options to see which ones to activate and which ones to set inactive. So looking into the Spout now, we have first, this is still kind of like work in progress, but we're using currently for loops to set different spout receivers active and inactive. And depending on the input type, which is either default logo, spout, or NDI, we'll be selecting using the index. So using the index of, let me try to see if I can find, so settings. So using the different, using this index, if it is 1, so it would be the spout option. We'll be using the for loop to set the spout receiver active or inactive. And then from there, if spout is selected, we'll be setting the name of the input to receive in our spout receiver. And then finally, we'll be setting the material. We'll be setting the material on the TV screen behind the character. And similarly, NDI is also done the same way. So we'll be using a for loop to set NDI receiver active and inactive. And then for each item, we'll be getting and setting that active. And if NDI is selected, we'll be setting the name of the input to receive in the receiver, and finally setting the material of the TV screen. And to kind of dynamically change sender names and refresh options in the dropdown, we have also, these dropdowns, these new menus only are created when we select spout or NDI. And so if selection is changed for the input type, and if it is on 1 and 2, which is spout and NDI, we'll be clearing all the options of the available senders and adding we'll be adding the options into the dropdown. So if previously spout OBS filter isn't there as an option, once you hit refresh, it's going to add that option back in the drop-down menu. So we wanted that drop-down to be dynamic so that you can choose different senders. You can choose different senders when you hit refresh. And finally, this is just a bit where you can set the visibility of the drop-down so that they only show when it's on index 1 and 2. So this is a bit of update of where we are at for the VTuber Studio. And so just going back to a reminder for the alpha release, we'll be reorganizing and restructuring the project so that it's really easy to read and use, and for you to customize your project as well. And we'll be releasing the first kind of like template projects next Wednesday, same time during the Discord demo. And this project file will be available in the Download Center. So hopefully a bit of explanation helped, but I'm sure in the next week it'll be very neat for you to use. And from then on, we'll be talking through different kind of VTuber-based things that we can walk through, such as retargeting, rigging, live link, so on and so forth. So hopefully that was helpful. But yeah, let me know if anything was unclear and we can walk through some of that. Will there be a direct screen capture media input as well? Yeah, we can definitely add that into the option for next week, but that would be really cool. Just thinking of what kind of direct screen capture. Would that be using, so that won't be using OBS, or? Yeah, I think we'll definitely look into that. Yeah, we can use the off-world screen capture actor for sure. Yeah, we'll just be adding that as an option. before Spout and NDI, because I think that would be really easy to use. Or if there are any kind of suggested topics, we'll be able to cover some of that. So in the project, we can talk through. So in the project here, a lot of functionality is built into the widget blueprint, but on top of that, we've also done a bit of work on avatars. So for example, I'm just going to hide the VRM avatar, but on Metahuman specifically, we've kind of created different accessories and outfits for the Metahuman, as well as retargeted animations. So I know some of you would be interested in reusing some of that because rigging is quite a lot of work and retargeting might not be very fun all the time. So in animations, here we have a retargeter so that you can look at how Mixamo animations can be reused for a Metahuman really quickly using this retargeter. Alternatively, we also have different assets, not only retargeting animations, but also different outfits. So we have glasses, outfit 1 and 2, one's a suit and one's kind of like t-shirt, sporty kind of outfit, and we'll be creating more materials for that as well. So if that's anything that you'd like covered in the next few sessions, please feel free to let me know. But yeah, that's a bit of update, and I'm sure there'll be more updates next week for you to see. Any questions, feel free to drop in there. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. And I'll be hanging around for a bit more today, but feel free to let me know if you have any questions. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll see you around the same time next week, and we'll be showing you how to clone the projects and how to download the project and import your levels. Be looking through a little bit more about these persistent levels so that you can change your the environment really quickly. So as mentioned, you can hide the current environment, but add existing levels that you've designed. So here I've got a template where people can kind of quickly update and change the environment, kind of deleting bits from different environments and just replacing them. So hope that's helpful. And yeah, amazing. If that's it, I'll be seeing you all next week, same time. But thank you so much for attending. Hope you have a great day.